Stritto, talking about movies.
Hello, Frank. Say hello to Eric Lilliquist.
Eric, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
All right.
All right.
Our movie tomorrow night is
Escape from Escape from Sobibor.
I wanted you to say it, not me.
Yeah, well, actually, there's so many different accents in this movie, you can almost pronounce it the way you want. So, Sobibor, Sobibor, I think it's all over the map in this movie, but I have nothing bad to say about this movie. I must admit, I'd never heard of the film, and I never heard of the historic incident on which it is based until you asked me to talk about this movie tonight, and I said it was going to be one of these, public domain movies that were so bad they didn't bother to copyright it, and that's not true at all. This is a very fine film. And what I like most about it, and the whole movie takes place in a concentration camp, and it's, there's awful things going on in there. But they let the evil and the good in there speak for itself. It is a matter-of-fact movie, low-key. There's not sensationalized. Usually in these movies you have some eye-rolling, sadistic commandant. And not in this movie. These guys, the guys in this movie, I won't say are likable, but they get up in the morning and go to work and come home at night. And work for them is a hellacious thing. But it's treated as I imagine death camps really were. And the inmates, again, they face death every minute. They're living under, conditions you and I can't imagine, but they, somehow they have a life in there. And I really admired the movie for that. It didn't make melodramatic what didn't need it. It let the horror speak for itself, and it kind of underplays. And I haven't seen that in a movie of this type before, especially in a TV movie, which is what this is. This was made for British television, 1987. So, and it came and went. But I think it deserves the attention that you're giving it. I'm so glad you're showing it.
It's only 25 years old, and it's public domain.
Yeah.
Copyright's gone.
Well, sometimes copyright, as we've discussed on this show before, the copyrights can be fragile things. You can lose a copyright and not really realize it. You cannot go through certain, formalities the right way, and all of a sudden something's in copyright. Someone who owns the copyright might lose it through a legal suit, and all of a sudden it falls in the public domain. So every one of these movies you show, except for the old ones on whose their copyright has run out, like the one you had a couple of weeks ago, anytime you have a silent film, most of the silent films you've shown are public domain only because they're too old.
Caligari was...
Yeah, but every one of them has a story as to why they haven't been recopyrighted. The copyright wasn't maintained. And I don't know those stories. I mean, that's a history I have to get into. So I don't know why this hasn't been copyrighted.
Any significant stars in it?
There's probably three names people will recognize. Alan Arkin, who of course is still quite active. And he's had a long career, and he plays an inmate in the concentration camp. And again, his most gripping scene is totally underplayed. He's brought to the concentration camp. I'll give this away. I don't like giving away plots, but he's brought to the concentration camp. He is separated from his wife and his child, and he tells how he only knows what happened to them because he was assigned to a detail where they had to sort out clothes, and he sees his family's clothes amongst the heap that he has to sort, and he realizes they've been gassed. And again, it's no big music in the background. It's just a quietly done scene. And then he says, the reason I can go on living is because in order to get revenge, I have to first survive. So, and that's it. And he puts it out of his mind. So Alan Arkin is there. The other well-known name in it would be Rutger Hauer. And Rutger Hauer is a few years past his prime. And I always thought he deserved more out of the movies, a bigger arc of stardom. This is 1987, so Blade Runner and Lady Hawk, I guess, his two big hits in America, or his two most remembered roles in America, I might say, are about 5 years old now. And he's 33, and he's hardly on the downside of his acting ability or his his life for that matter. But he'll never quite have the big time again. He'll get some decent roles here and there, and I always wondered why he didn't have a better career than I think he's had. And the third one is an actress who kind of had a sharp arc, though she's still active today, Joanna Pacula, Polish actress who came to America, and Sobibor, however the character is pronounced, wasn't Polish, so I imagine this was kind of a personal experience for her. And she starred in one of my guilty pleasures called The Kiss, where she plays a vampire-type creature. And she had some decent supporting roles through the 80s, and she's still around. She's still active, but she never had the start, and that might have been hers, but a lucky break here or there. So this was directed by Jack Gold, who, a name which meant nothing to me, but I imagine most reviewers have seen something he's done, because he's done a lot of British television, and a lot of the stuff that shows up on shows like Masterpiece Theater or public television might well have his name on it, because he's done. I think he's I guess he's over 80 now. There's some credits for him in the last few years, but I imagine he's slowed down. He's probably, if I listed the works that he's done, the one that most people probably remember is The Naked Civil Servant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, he directed that. I had no idea who directed it. I remember the show vividly.
So Sobibor is on tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. What I did want to say, Frank, and thank you, you give it a thumbs up, right?
Oh, big thumbs up.
All right, so tomorrow night, Frank Dello Stritto gives it a thumbs up. I wanted to acknowledge the passing of Herbert Lom. Oh,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, today.
When did he die?
Today, it was on the Google News thing, so Herbert Lom is gone. Yeah, what was he in? Was he in Hunchback? What was he? He
was Phantom of the Opera.
Phantom of the Opera.
And, of course, he was the harried policeman in the Inspector Clouseau movies.
Yep.
And he was around for a long time. He played Napoleon, I guess in the 50s he played Napoleon a couple of times because he kind of looked like him, and I think he was Polish, so his accent could pass as French to American ears. So
we only got 30 seconds left. Eric watched Joan of Arc last night, or two nights ago?
The French version from the 20s that was lost for years, and then found, sort of by mistake, found in a mental institution. In storage, and then they had to doctor it up, but they didn't change much of it at all, as it turned out.
Except for a soundtrack. That's our show for tonight, people. Thank you for a Visual Radio Live. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Eric Lilliquist.
Welcome.
Frank, thanks again, man.
Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Yep. And that's our show, Visual Radio.